Hi everyone. So in this video session, we discussing about this what is a computer network and what is the introduction to our computer network. So in our previous sessions, we focusing about this the basic introduction of computer network, which means the definition of computer network and what is the uses and what is the features of our computer network. But in this session, we focusing about this what is the network architecture. What is network architecture? And what is the types of network architecture? While we designing about this architecture of any kind of communication network, so while sharing information, what kind of procedure we need to follow, what kind of protocols we need to follow, and what is the different types of networks are there. So in this session, we focusing about this all this parameter we calling as a network architecture. What is network architecture? What is computer network architecture? So network architecture is defined as the physical and logical design of the software and hardware and various protocols and what kind of transmission medium of data, which means so while establishing any kind of communication path values only. So what are the software components we are using, what is the hardware components we are using, and while establishing this computer network, what kind of protocols we are using and what kind of transmission medium we are using that one. So all these things we calling as a computer network architecture. So assume that one. So this is my computer network architecture. For example, this is my path. I can able to share information between this, enter the region values only. So here I am having as a strong server is there. This strong server can able to accommodate to n number of clients are there. They taken the response and they given the response to proper information to the number of clients. So while establishing this server, right? So while previously said discussing about the key components of network. So here what kind of cables we are using, what kind of switches we are using, what kind of hubs we are using, etc, etc, right? So all these things we are able to establish in this computer network architecture, which means what kind of software methodology we are using that one, because in the nowadays world many softwares are there to establishing the stronger communication path. So what kind of software medium we are using and what kind of hardware medium we are using. With help of this software and hardware, we are interfacing with the software and hardware kind of structure. What kind of elements we are using that one, what kind of protocols we are using that one to integrate the software and hardware components, and what kind of communication medium we are using that one. So in the transmission medium, generally we are in is either wide kind of communication as well as wireless kind of communication. So what kind of medium we are using that one, what kind of transmission medium we are using that one. So based upon that one, we are able to establishing a strong kind of computer network architecture. So this type of network architecture, we have two types are there. One is peer-to-peer network architecture and the one is client and server model architecture. So in the previous session, we also focusing about this client and server model. Here we much more integrate, much more analysis about this. What is a client and server model? What is a client and server network model? As well as we focusing about this peer-to-peer network architecture. Because while see this scenario, here one server is there, but n number of clients are there. One server is there, only one client is there. So how we are able to establishing this scenario? How we are able to establishing this type 2 scenario? If one-to-one communication is there, one-to-many communication is there. So how we are able to establish this type 1 scenario as well as this type 2 scenario? That we calling as a peer-to-peer network as well as client and server network architecture values only. So these are the two different types of network we are using in the nowadays real-time world. So while coming to this peer-to-peer network, while you can see this one in the peer-to-peer network, so the person can able to communicate to only one-to-one communication is there. Here when you see this one, the person can able to communicate one-to-one connection is there. That we calling as a peer-to-peer network, which means we calling as a one-to-one networking path, one-to-one communication between the path. Here we having as a only one source is there, as well as we having as a one server client is there. One server is there and one client is there. This server can able to working for only one client values only. What is the server? Client give response to server. Accordingly, server information to the respective client values only. So here information is transmitted is only point-to-point communication. We also calling as a point-to-point communication. The peer-to-peer communication we also calling as a point-to-point communication. We also calling as a one-to-one communication, which means one server is there and one client is there, one source as well as one destination. So when see this image, so here I am having as n number of servers are there, n number of clients are there, but every system, the system can acting as a server as well as acting as a client. Well, see this one. So in the P2P network architecture, the major advantage is one system can able to acting as a server, can able to acting as a information, the server values as well as the client values, but at a time can able to give response to only one client values only. If you go for this n number of clients, one server is there, it facing as a congestion issue, facing as a traffic kind of issues over there, the information getting issues over there, our information is damaged, our information getting delayed values only. But while coming is client and network values, so here we having as a one particular server is there, and we having as a n number of clients are there. So here internet using as a my transmission media, right? So but in the P2P media, here either cables or any kind of internet acting as a medium, but over here the internet is acting as a medium, because I am having as a one strong server is there, but n number of clients are there, n number of clients should be happens over there. So this particular stronger server can able to accommodate the information to n number of server. So this server give response to my value, accordingly this server can give response to the respective client. This gives some response, some request, some response, some request, some response. So this stronger server can able to accommodate the information, sharing the information, which means the resource sharing should be very stronger over between these kind of client values only. So in the client and server model, one server is there, the server can able to give information to n number of servers, so but without loss of information. So this is the way we can able to design of our network architecture. Apart from this one, the other type is that we calling as a distributed system. We calling as a distributed system, which means a system can able to connect it to other system values only. This server, this system can able to connect it to other server values as well, right? So which means it can able to distribute the information. So here what happened? So this server having this information over here, this can able to share information to the next computer. When what is the server client server model? The server having this information sharing to the particular client values only, not into this value. So this here what happened? One server is there, n number of clients are there. So here this server can share the information to this client, information to second client, information to third client, but the client to client interaction is not activated over here. But whatever in the distributed system, whatever the information they have, they can able to share the information to among all the network, among all the system presence in the types of the network. What is a network? This is a network, we design this one. So with the help of this one, who are the systems presence over there? The all about system, the all other system can able to share the information to the next system values one, which means all the systems should share the information over here. That we calling as the distributed system values only. And while discussing about this important parameter, which is network type, so while we establishing this network path, while the client and server model or peer-to-peer model or distributed model, while establishing that server model, we need to able to follow the respective computer network type. What is a computer network type? Which means is a group of computer that is linked to other object, other computers, other client values only. So that computer can able to communicate with another computer and just share their information, which means the data values or any kind of application perspective values only. So here there are different kinds of types of networks are there. First one is we calling as a personal area network value, local area network value, main area network, metropolitan area network, WAN as well as PAN. We calling as a personal area network, local area network, metropolitan area network, and wide area network. So there are different types of networks are there. So with the help of this network, once we establish in this stronger network architecture, with help of this one, we can able to provide the client and server model, we can able to provide the peer-to-peer connection model, we can able to provide the distributed system model. So once we are able to establishing these types of network architecture only, then only we can able to establishing this model values only. Is it clear? This we calling network types and this we calling as a network model values only. So here we focusing about this one by one. What is meant by this? My personal area network. We calling as a PAN. We calling as a PAN, which means personal area network values. Which means a person can able to communicate to the respective other person. That we calling as a PAN. So generally we calling as a peer-to-peer communication or one-to-one communication. We are using this kind of devices. We calling as a personal area network, which means a person can able using that one. It's a personal kind of device values only. Only one person can able to use that respective network values only. And next one we calling as a local area network. What is local area network? Local area network in the sense it is a structure of similar structure. So within the building or within the smaller area values, within the respective short limited values, we are using this local area network. Like small kind of buildings, small kind of office structures, we are using this kind of local area networks. So in the local area network, I can able to accommodate hundreds of computers or thousands of computers, but that should be present in the within the region values only, which should be either should be in the form of this 100 kbps to 100 mbps range values only. Based upon the region values and based upon the size of the architecture values, we are able to establishing this local area network architecture values only. What is LAN? LAN in the sense a limited kind of structure values only, is a local kind of network values only. So this is a limitation of range values. We can able to accommodate the architecture values only. And the next one PAN, which we calling as a personal area network. So the examples are Bluetooth connections or any kind of wireless mouse connections, wireless Bluetooth connection. All this comes to this personal network. And what is local area network? Which is a small kind of buildings, a small kind of organization. There we are using this kind of local area network values only. And the next one, the important one, we calling as a metropolitan area network. So every LAN connections. So n number of connections are there. N number of connections are there, which means it can able to communicate the metropolitan region values only. Local area network connected to a small kind of buildings and small kind of architecture values only. But this metropolitan area network can able to communicate the longer region values only within the cities values only. Some kind of longer ranges between the LAN connection values only. So the LAN connections should be in the form of this 100 Mbps range, but in this metropolitan area canvas, it in the form of this gigabits per second values only. There is megabits, here is this gigabits per second. So it can able to accommodate, it can able to connect it to the n number of LAN connections. So this is the one kind of LAN connection, this is another LAN kind of LAN connections, this other kind of connections. So this metropolitan area network, it can able to communicate to the all the information. It can able to share the information between this various LAN kind of communication values only. We calling as a metropolitan area network. So it's a smaller, there's a long range of communication path. And another one is important one, the wide area network. What is wide area network? So we're using this outside the world, like the long distance communication kind of construction values. So we're able to communicate this kind of wider area network values only. So it's a globally kind of communication path values only. So for example, I can able to call in between from India to USA. So here I can able to share the information. So here the long distance should be having as a thousands of kilometers distance between this India to USA. So where the information between this one organization, one kind of city, one kind of country to another kind of countries. So this should be the wide area, the longer range of communication should be happens with the help of this wide area network values only. For example, google.com is there or else amazon.com is there. The main server should be in the somewhere section values only, but based upon the server model, here you can able to access with the help of that one. We calling as a World Wide Web connection. We calling as a www.google.com. We can able to access that one. This is our major server over there. So that header should be comes anywhere in the world, but I can able to access in the anywhere outside the region values only. Right. So that should be happens with the help of this wide area network. We can able to communicate globally anywhere in the cities, anywhere in the countries, anywhere in the town over there. We can able to communicate this kind of network architecture values only. So while established network architecture, we are following the many kind of topologies are there, many kind of protocols are there. We are able to establishing these kind of network types. What is a network type? We having as a LAN connection, we having as a PAN connection, we having as a MAN connection, as well as we having as a WAN connection. So while establishing these kind of connections, we need to follow what kind of topology we are using that one, what kind of protocols we are using that one. Because every perspective, every communication, every network path connection, we having as a particular application is there, particular limitations are there. So based upon that one, we can able using this respective topology value, respective protocols value. So what is the topology here? We having as a n number of topologies are there. Bus topology, ring topology, star topology. So n number of topologies are there. So based upon this my requirement, based upon this, what kind of communication path I'm using that one, which means what kind of network architecture we are using that one. Accordingly, we are choosing this respective topology values and respective protocol values. So these protocols and topologies are plays a vital role in my networking type structure values only. So these are the important parameters which we using to design the values only. So in this architecture, in this session, we are majorly focusing about this the network architecture value. So what is network architecture? There we focusing about this two important scenario. One is what is my model scenario, which means client server model or peer-to-peer connection model or distributed model. We are focusing that well, as well as we also much focusing about this the types of network architecture. So with help of this model, so these are two things are interlinked over here. With help of this model values, with help of this type values, then we will able to design this network architecture values only. So assume that one we able to design this LAN connection. So in this LAN connection, what kind of communication path we are using that one, what kind of model we are using that one, whether go for this client and server model, whether go for this distributor model, whether go for this peer-to-peer connection model. So accordingly, we are able to choose our network architecture type values only, network architecture model values only. Accordingly, we are designing about this respective topology values and respective protocol values only. They will be discussing about in this session. In the upcoming session, we discussing about this what is a inter-network values and what is the topology value. As we discussing the topology, so in the network architecture also we are focusing about this topology values. In the next session, we much more integrate, much more focusing about this topology value, and we focusing about this inter-network architecture, which is what is inter-network and what is intra-network. We are focusing in the next session. Thank you.